Hello, this is Mark McRoy. I'm here at the Electric Cave Recording Studio, and we're going to talk about U47 clones. The U47, of course, is the sort of most famous, most well-known microphone ever, probably vocal microphone, especially for studio use. Everyone knows the SM58, of course, but the U47 for studio use is ubiquitous. They're all very expensive, and so now people are making clones, including this AEG MKL47. So we're going to talk about what makes these mics special, why I recommend this one, construction, tube, transformer, how it all works together. So here is an AEG MK101. This is inside. This is like a U47. It's different here. This one here that I'm kind of talking into has the traditional U47 looking body. This has the bottle with the bayonet top look. So having the different style head basket gives us a slight difference, but otherwise, they're the same under the hood. And so I'm going to actually, while I'm speaking into this one, open this one up, show you what's inside. So, firstly, a great U47 is simple inside. So, here we see the tube, the transformer, the capsule is of course here, and the preamp is built mostly right on the tube socket, and then after the transformer, a few resistors down there. That's the design, the original bottle microphones, especially the original Neumann microphones. They're all very eloquent, very simple on the inside. And there's no printed circuit boards. The problem is when you introduce printed circuit boards, you start to change the signal path. You start to make signals run around circles and stuff like that. Now, and a lot of great mics have printed circuit boards. I'm just saying, for the U47 to get the most U47 sound, this is all point-to-point wiring, handmade. It's kind of like when you're making a traditional soup, you use the traditional ingredients. You might be able to substitute powdered garlic for fresh garlic, better not. What makes these also unique is they usually have very large transformers in them. We're lucky enough to have a pretty good supply of vintage German transformers and vintage Russian transformers around, but for these microphones we like to use the German ones to keep it all very German, and new old stock German tubes. I'm going to pull this tube out. Don't try this at home. Here is the special tube. It's weird, right? It doesn't look like any other tube. You can play guitar all your life, be in studios all your life, and never run into one of these. This particular one is an EF12, I do believe. The EF11 and the EF12, we use both of them in these kinds of microphones. The gain, slightly different. It's kind of like the difference between a 12A T7 and a 12AX7 or something like that, you know. But sound quality is similar. Fidelity is similar, slightly different. But let's talk about the tube for a minute. This is a pentode. It's a very low, mostly you know pentodes from Marshall amps and things like that. This is a very low output pentode, maybe a watt or two. Here's the kind of pentode you're used to seeing. This is the EL34. Let's bring this up here. You can see the, and I happen to have a broken EF or VF, I don't remember which, tube. Around the AEG office, we call these the short black tube. That's our abbreviation for all the EF and VF tubes. Here's an EF with its hat off. You'll see here something very interesting, and that is the grid is mounted this way. You see it has this little getter on the top here. And on here, they're actually on the top as well, but here the top is the side. So what I'm saying is, the reason I'm going through all this is a very unique tube. And that's why we're keeping it in the equation, in the soup of making the U47. Now, let's talk about VF and EF. There's lots of information going around about what is the VF14 tube, what is the EF12 or the EF14 or the EF11. The VF14 has been out of production for a long time, and since people have been using Neumann microphones non-stop since the 50s, the supply of VF14s that used to be everywhere they're just gone. They're dried up. People are asking $1,000 and up for these tubes if you can find one, and it's just going to get worse. So in building the replica and making it affordable, we decided to use the EF12. Why not the EF14? The EF14 is kind of weird. Even the VF14 was a sort of a premium version of the EF14, a better sounding version. But the EF12 came around the same time, and it's what sounds best. The EF14, don't do it. Don't trust it. The EF12 has the sound that we're looking for to make it great. And the EF11 too, very similar sound to make a great Neumann copy. So this tube is unique and beautiful, and you need it to make something that's a real precise U47 copy. Now you'll see U47 copies that have EF95s, 12X7s even. I've seen all sorts of tubes in these bodies, and that's fine. We use lots of tubes. We use 6 different tubes in all of our microphones, probably 6. We make microphones to order sometimes. We do special interesting things. However, we don't... for this, we don't call it a U47 if it doesn't have the short black tube in it, the EF tube. So let's also talk about, people say like, oh, why not use the new VF14? Why the EF? Why not the new VF14? So one day, now they're very expensive. Those new VF14s are hundreds of dollars. And one day, one came through that was malfunctioning or broken into the shop, and so we cracked it open. And what we found was very interesting. Took the lid off it. It had what we believed to be a Russian-made tube that cost $1-ish inside of it. So it looked exactly like this. Some of these have glass. Some of these are glass. This is glass that's painted black. And some will be metal, just like in the 6SL7 tubes. There were metal casing and glass casing tubes. People claim one is better, one is worse. But, so, it looks just like this. We pried it open, and inside was just a little miniature, sub-miniature microphone tube. Basically I wouldn't say it cost $1, it cost $10, but a 6S31, a tube that we use a lot, because it's able to be run off of the the voltages. The VF14 has a kind of unique set. That's why the EF and the VF don't cross. The EF12 and the VF14 don't cross. Long story, Google it if you want to know more about it. But in essence, the new VF14s are not VF14s. They don't look like this inside. We took the lid off, and there was just a little tube in there that went to the... So it's an adapter. And as you may know as well, Neumann, when they ran out of VF14s, they recommended a new Vista, also a sub-miniature tube. I don't remember which one it was. Anyways, new Vista are these little things that they look kind of like a transistor. And I guess there was a kind of a tube answer to a transistor or even. Little thing, and they gave you a little adapter plate with it, a little adapter, and you could plug the new Vista into it, or you could, it was just hardwired to and a lot of people, I don't think there's anyone out there who says, I prefer it. The new Vista kind of didn't go over so well. So the new VF14, as far as we know, as far as the one that we saw and opened up and looked inside, it's not special. So that's why we use the EF12. It's the closest thing to the VF14 without spending an arm and a leg. If you do get one of these, get a couple. Keep them around because they're going to get rare too. A lot of companies are making their U47 clones with these as well. So if you're the lucky owner of a microphone like this, while you can, go on eBay and buy a couple of tubes. These kind of go for $50 to $100 each, which isn't bad. So buy a lifetime supply. So what else should I talk about? I think so that's enough for now. We've covered the important things. Point-to-point wiring, the right kind of tube, the right kind of transformer. Oh, let's talk about the body for a second. Now, as you see in our microphone, and a lot of them you'll see, this is not an exact U47 because it uses a shock mount and it uses a DIN connector on the bottom rather than the big, as you remember, they often had that big connector and stand in one that you would attach to the stand, and then the microphone would be on the... And a lot of people ask, well, why don't you use the real Neumann body, not the one that's almost like it? Well, this is an Asian-made body, and we get it because it's inexpensive, and it helps us keep the microphone inexpensive. If we have to buy the European-made one, that's an exact replica, that costs us $400, $500 more. That's a cost we'll have to pass on to you. And furthermore, I kind of like having a shock mount. A real shock mount because otherwise you get a lot of the floor noise and stuff can transfer through the stand. You got rubber mounts on the stand. The mount itself has a little bit of rubber in it, but this floating shock mount is great, and so it makes financial sense, and it makes sense as far as if you're going to modernize something, choose the design flaw, which is you don't want it screwed directly into something that is set on the floor. Some people who go looking for those actually want to make the U47 exact replica so they can put a badge on it themselves, and because a lot of times people go, oh, is that U47? Well, no, it's a replica. And you can say, well, no, it's not the $20,000 microphone. It's the $2,000 version. It's ironic and funny that people find that disappointing, especially since if you have a real U47, you're always worried about what's going to happen to it. You can't get a pair, or you can if you're wealthy, very successful studio. You can get a pair and do some overheads with it. These you can afford a pair, hopefully. And these you can get a replacement, and you can get a replacement tube for it, and you can have more than one of them in your life. we're going to wrap it up with this little talk right now. I'm also going to do a little sample video with some actual singing to this microphone. But I thought if you're listening to this to just find out about them in general, you might not necessarily want to hear me sing. But if you want to hear this microphone demoed more, I'll put a link in, I guess, or just Google, do a YouTube search or something, the MKL47 from AEG, and you'll find other videos. Thanks for sharing this time with me, and hope you found it informative.